Hello again for everyone who just joined us, and it's officially welcome you to today's webinar on the topic Improve Your Ad Performance Quality with Make and Facebook Converse API for CRM. We are excited to have you all here. And now, without further ado, let me introduce our speaker. Joining us today, we have Heriberto Salcedo, Product Marketing Manager at Meta. Hi, Heriberto. And alongside them, we have Daniel Zrust, Solutions Architect at Make.
Hi,
Hello,
guys.
Daniel. And prior we will jump into the agenda, I have a couple of housekeeping rules for you and notes. So this webinar is being recorded. No worries, guys, you will receive a recording a couple of days after the webinar into your inbox. Also, anytime you have any questions, we have a dedicated Q&A section, so make sure you will drop your questions there or in the chat. It will be monitored by Meta and Make, and we will be happy to reply. Of course, guys, at the end, we will show you a special exclusive promo that we prepared for you. So if you want to learn more what it will be, stay with us till the end. And let's take a quick look at today's agenda so you know what to expect. So first, we will have Heriberto, who will dive into Meta Converse API for CRM, what it is, how it works, and the key benefits for optimizing your ad performance. Then we will have Daniel, who will showcase a live demo to show you how to use Make to set up the Converse API seamlessly for your CRM integrations. And after, we will have open the floor for your questions, so do not hesitate to drop them into Q&A. So with that, let's get started. Heriberto, over to you to walk us through Convergence API for CRM.
Thank you, Ian. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I'm looking forward to sort of talk to Convergence API for CRM and how it drives value for lead-oriented businesses. So, Ian, if we can go to the next slide. Um, when you look at the media and the marketing and advertising landscape, that continues to change and will continue to change. Data policies and regulations, when implemented, and purchasing behaviors become more complex, these are driving more complexities into how businesses drive impact or can see attribute impact to certain tactics, advertising and marketing specifically. When you take that into account for lead-oriented businesses, this even becomes truer as businesses that are often selling services like insurance or product with high consideration and periods and touch points have those added complexities where someone can't just add an item to a cart. There requires more of that sort of buying window or that attribution window. So reaching leads that matter, reaching leads that convert, is still high and top of mind with marketers, as well as keeping up with the trends. So then what do you do with that? If we go to the next slide, Ina, it's to improve lead quality or to improve business outcomes. It's really important to take into account how you invest in your first party data strategy. And for lead generation campaigns, that investment really comes with connecting your CRM data via the Convergence API that essentially helps improve lead quality or the intentionality of leads into converting while reducing cost. So if we go to the next slide, Ina, I want to give you sort of a sort of an overview of Convergence API and connecting your CRM data with Meta technologies through Convergence API can help through lead campaign performance. Number one, it allows you to download leads directly from your campaigns in across Meta technologies to your CRM automatically. It allows you to share that customer knowledge in terms of how the customer is moving throughout the sales funnel. It shares that knowledge back to Meta technology, and when the investments that we've made in our modeling, optimization, and AI systems, combining this now allows you to sort of further target your highest value prospect in future campaigns where you can optimize for quality, not just volume. And that's sort of the 30,000-foot view of Convergence API for CRM. So I wanted to visualize that for you a little bit in this graph. If you look at left to right in terms of how it works, you have your potential customer, someone sort of using any one of our services today. They click on your sort of lead ad or your lead campaign, whether sign up for service, enter your name or number. That action specifically goes into your CRM, recorded whether a new lead has been initiated, initial call, whatever that action would be. Without that conversion API for CRM connection, we've lost all visibility into what happened to that customer or that potential customer. Did that person go all the way through your sales funnel and convert? Did they get stuck? Was it a bad lead? All of those. So when you're sort of optimizing for your next campaign, we've lost all visibility into that. But with sharing your CRM data back with Meta through the conversions API, and that's step 4, now we have visibility into that customer journey and into how that campaign actually drove movement throughout the sales funnel. So when you're going into spending your next campaign, your next lead generation campaign, your lead oriented campaign, you can now optimize not only from a lead volume perspective, which is there for anyone and everyone, but now you can run conversion lead performance goals specifically, which essentially means you can target the highest intent leads that are more likely to convert based on that data that you share back via your CRM. If we go to the next slide. So this is what it looks like from an activation perspective. When your conversion for API CRM is functioning, your conversion lead performance goals essentially enables you to use that CRM lead data to reach higher quality leads. If you look at the left, you have lead performance goal, which is maximizing the number of instant forms submitted. So think about you're generating an email list form, something that's very broad and general that you're trying to get a lot of volume, and that's a great strategy to have. But when you look at certain products and services or certain campaigns that are driving more action or more conversion, you now have the ability to optimize your campaign for conversion lead performance goal. And this maximizes the leads that are more likely to take action or convert. And to the right, this is how you see it in Ads Manager. When you are sort of spending on that next campaign, you're choosing instant form as your conversion location. And you'll see you'll have 2 of those performance goals where you can maximize the number of leads, and now you can maximize for conversion leads. So think quantity and quality from a strategic perspective. And just some stats to sort of show how it works is connecting your CRM data via Meta Technologies with Conversions API does improve quality while reducing costs, which is really what we want to drive home for businesses. On average, we've seen 15% reduction in cost per quality leads and a 44% increase in rate of converting a lead into a quality lead when we compare conversions API for CRM to lead ads using instant forms optimized for volume. So when you optimize for quality, cost goes down, quality and conversion goes up. And I wanted to call out a few specific verticals. And this is in the automobile space, a British automobile maker with a basic objective of reaching high intent auto customers. And we know auto has a very long attribution window. It is a high touch purchasing cycle. And they took a similar tactic of using instant forms with conversion leads performance goal and connecting to the conversions API for CRM integration. And they've seen 40% more qualified leads generated and a 29% reduced lower cost per quality lead. And that's auto. Now I want to shift gears to financial services companies. Similar objective, qualified new customers. Again, long attribution windows. And we've seen 2x more signups generated by this tactic and a 36% lower cost. So we've seen already that businesses are finding value in it and sort of utilizing think about your first party data strategy, connecting your CRM data through Conversions API and allowing our technologies to learn and optimize so that your next campaign can drive more quality leads. Now that you've heard sort of the why we've created and why it exists in the value in terms of how do you do it? Are you a good fit? I think there's 2 main qualifications at this point or feasibility checks at this point in terms of making sure you're a good fit. One is right now conversion lead optimization works with instant forms, and instant forms are our native short form in-feed forms that allows you to um, get information for a potential customer. So name, email address, whatever that may be. That information can go directly into your CRM, and that's where Conversion API for CRM sits today. The other is the lead generation. We're asking that businesses can generate at the very least 200 leads per month. And this is more from a feasibility and performance perspective. This is essentially means that we get enough data to determine, which leads will eventually become your customers. So the more data that we have, the more accurate our models and our systems and our mechanisms will operate. Now, how do you do it? You can essentially take two routes to onboard or integrate with Convergence API for CRM. One is, which what we recommend, and why we're here today, is working with a partner like Make. They've essentially took all of the technical and development bandwidth and resources, and they've built it for you in a way that allows you to integrate rather seamlessly, easy, in a short matter of time. So if you're a small business, a medium business, and you don't have those technical resources with you, partners the way to go because they're able to really not only bring it to the business, but bring it to the business in a more efficient, basic, easy way. You can go about it alone. We have development docs externally available, but again, it's similar to what I just mentioned. You'll need technical resources and development resources and time in order to create and implement the integration on your own. So we recommend going with a partner, and it's why we work with great partners such as Make, is that they make it easy, simple, and impactful in terms of not only what the Convergence API for CRM does, but it adds it to all of the other great services and solutions they offer to businesses. So with that, I'll toss it over to Daniel, so he can walk you through how this integration lives within Make.
All right, thanks Heriberto for the intro, and let's now look at how it is actually done. So before we look into the workflows and scenarios and automations, let me quickly introduce Make, what we do, who we are, etc., because I believe not everyone on the call actually knows what Make is. So Make as a company has around like 1 million users. We are present in pretty much all the countries around the world. And as Ina have already mentioned in the quiz at the beginning, we are currently supporting over 2,000 connectors. Some of you may know that we are backed by Celonis. So Celonis is our mother company, but Make itself kind of operates within the group on its own with its own management, etc. Now, when it comes to some of our well-known customers, we do have some big brand names under the hood. So companies like Spotify or SoftBank or Lionsgate, for example, use Make as well. And when it comes to customer satisfaction, it's pretty simple. Our customers simply love us, and I hope you will too eventually. So if you go to any review sites out there, you will find very high ratings of the Make platform. Now, technically, what is it? So Make is a visual automation platform, which basically allows you to take your existing business processes and convert them to diagrams, for example, like here, where the diagram itself becomes the automation of the process, right? So for example, on this image, we have a very simple workflow where a new lead comes in from Facebook. We create a new contact in HubSpot, and then we add that contact to a campaign, marketing tool or emailing platform like MailChimp, right? And that's a very simple workflow which can be repeated over and over, and Make is going to automate this process every single time a new lead arrives. Now, the beauty of Make is that you can create obviously very simple workflows like this, but at the same time, you can create very complex workflows with 100 steps, different conditions, iterations, aggregations, pro code like approaches if you want. It's all possible there. So basically, Make can grow with you as your needs evolve, because naturally you will probably start with simple workflows, and then you'll be asking for more and more, and then Make can still accommodate for that. And obviously, because Make is a visual automation platform where you don't really code, then the speed and innovation is the speed of development is much faster than if you had to code from scratch, even if you could do it, right? Not everyone is a programmer, and Make basically empowers non-programmer personnel basically to automate and build automated workflows. All right. So now let's talk about our specific problem, which we will be solving. And the problem is pretty straightforward, and it goes hand in hand with what Heriberto was talking about earlier. So we will be in a lead generation business, and we will be generating leads on Facebook, right? And then we will be telling Meta about the leads, and we'll be telling which leads are, progressing to this stage in your CRM and to that stage in your CRM, etc. Right? So you as a marketer, you are going to be running Facebook lead ads campaigns, generating the leads. Then in the next step, we are going to use Make to store the leads in your CRM or in my CRM with their lead IDs. The lead ID piece is very important for the Conversions API for CRM to work. So if there's like one thing to remember from this webinar, it is to store the lead IDs into your CRM into a proper custom field whenever the leads arrive. Okay. And as I said, we are going to use Make. In my case, I'm going to be using Salesforce because that is usually the go-to CRM, or sometimes it is HubSpot, right? But these two big names usually lead the stats. So once the leads are in the CRM, then obviously your representatives like AEs or BDRs are probably going to start working on those leads. And eventually the statuses or stages of the leads are going to be changing, right? And the leads are going to be progressing in the sales funnel. And what we want to do here is that we want to capture every stage change, every status change, and tell Meta which lead ID just entered that stage, right? And then Meta is going to know which leads are more likely to progress in the sales funnel further, and therefore later on people similar to those leads should be targeted with your either like existing campaign or future campaign. So in the last step, we are going to use a second make scenario, second make automation to capture the stage events, the stage changes, and send them to Meta. Okay, so this is the technical problem we are going to be solving. And by doing this, we are going to be optimizing our ad sets for quality and not so much for quantity. Because right now, you as a marketer, if you are running lead gen campaigns, I'm pretty sure that 95% of you are probably optimizing for the lead volume and not so much for quantity, for quality. Okay. All right, before we dive into the scenarios, it's probably worth to mention what CRMs does Make support, because leads, they always need to go to a CRM or at least some sort of database, right? So if you go to make.com, then to product, apps and services, and then you can drill down into the CRM/sales section, and we'll give you the list of CRMs we have on the platform. Right now, it's around 140 already because this screenshot is a bit older, and we apparently support all the big names you can think of, right? So HubSpot, Salesforce, Pipedrive, Zoho, Odoo, Team Leader, Como, it's all there. So there is very, very high chance that no matter what you are using today, this solution with Facebook Conversions API for CRM can be built for you, okay? And when it comes to specifically to Meta apps or Facebook apps, which we have on the platform, we also have quite a few. So this is just for you to know. So we obviously have an app to deal with leads. We have app for dealing with pages, insights, Conversions API, generic one. Then we have obviously Conversions API for CRM. Then you can deal with Facebook custom audiences. You can do even basic campaign automations. You have Facebook Messenger, generic Facebook app, and Facebook catalogs. So we have already covered quite a few Facebook apps on the platform. Okay, so now let's go a bit deeper on the technical side of things, and let's think about what needs to happen to make it work all the way from the lead submission to the very end where the events are being pushed to Meta, where the stage change events are being pushed to Meta. Okay, so you as the marketer, you will probably need to go and talk to your CRM admin, or maybe you will have the admin rights yourself. And in your CRM, you will need to set up a new custom field, which will allow you to store the lead IDs coming from Facebook, okay? Then in the second step, we will create a make scenario to ingest the incoming leads from your Meta ads campaigns. Then in the third step, you should go to your ad manager and create a new meta pixel to capture the CRM events. It is always better to basically keep the web traffic and the, let's say, offline conversion traffic separate. And that is why we recommend to create a new standalone pixel, which will be used just for receiving the CRM events. Then in the fourth step, we are going to create a make scenario, which is going to be monitoring for lead status changes. Again, in my case, it's going to be in Salesforce. and it's going to be sending those changes back to Meta alongside with the lead ID, which we have previously stored in the second step. Then you as the advertiser, you will need to wait a bit, like a week or maybe 10 days, 2 weeks, to collect enough lead events before you will be able to finalize the lead funnel in Meta. And that is basically where you tell Meta what lead statuses or which lead statuses leads to what, right? You will reorder them, and then you will tell Meta which statuses are good for you, so Meta knows which or what people to go after in your future campaigns. And once you finalize the lead funnel, you are gonna be able to switch the ad set optimization from pure lead volume to conversion leads in the Meta Ads Manager. And the last step is obvious. You will monitor the results and make sure it's actually generating better performance than what you had when just going for the volume. So that's it. So this is what we are going to go through today. Let me just quickly check on time. We are good. So let's dive into the scenarios. I'm going to escape the presentation and I'm going to generate a fake lead. So for those of you who are automating Meta workflows, this is a pro tip. There is a basically tool on this URL where you can generate fake leads, but it's gonna basically trigger all the scenarios, etc. So you don't really have to try to catch your instant form somewhere in the feed, but you can go directly to this tool where you can select the page and then you can select the form for which you want to generate the lead. So this is what I'm gonna do, and this is how I'm gonna create my lead. Okay, so I'm gonna preview the form. I'm gonna call my company, let's say random company. Job title, I'm gonna be CFO today, and my name is Dan Thrust. Okay, so the moment I submit this form, this scenario is gonna pick it up. So this is how Make looks, and once it's picked up and sent to Salesforce, I'm gonna show you how you actually build these scenarios so you understand it's really not that hard. Okay, so let me submit this. Okay, now the lead is submitted. Let me quickly refresh. So we can capture it in real time, hopefully. If not, it's gonna be in the logs. Okay, so the lead arrived at 5:26, so that's the current time in Prague here. So far so good. I can go and open the execution which we had here, and this is how it looks, right? So I can go into the modules, and so the bubbles, we call them modules, and I can check out, what was captured. So this is it. Then in the second step, we basically quickly notify Meta saying, hey, there's a lead submitted, and we send it as an event to generate Facebook Conversions API, because it's always good to notify Facebook that you have actually captured the lead, right? Like it is also important for Facebook to know that this step actually has happened. And then in the last step, we have created the lead in Salesforce, right? So we got the record ID and it's all good. So now if I quickly go over to Salesforce and refresh my homepage, we are gonna see that there is a new lead. It's my name. So far, so good. And if we switch to details, obviously not that many fields are filled out because the form was pretty scarce on the information, but we can see this. Look, before I ran this demo, I set up my custom field, which is gonna capture the lead ID, and this will be important for sending the events back. Okay. So now let me go back to Salesforce and let me show you. Sorry, let me go back to Make and let me show you how the scenarios are built. So I have already told you that a lot of steps, or most of the steps which you do in Make, are very visual. It's mainly based on dragging and dropping, etc. Right? So here we have the modules, and basically you are adding the modules as next steps into the scenario as you think about your process. So for example, let's pretend I did not have this module added in the scenario, and now I'm supposed to add it. So I would simply go, I would look for the Salesforce app in our app drawer, and I would then check what modules, what actions you can take. And in my case, it would be create a record. I would drag and drop the module into the workflow like this. And then I would open the module and configure it. So each module is obviously going to have different configuration based on what is expected to provide by the API for the record to be either created, updated, deleted, etc. Right? So we are going to preload the fields for you, and now it's about mapping. So in this case, I am asked to provide the last name because it's a mandatory field. How do I know? Because it's bold. So I can, for example, map the full name here, and full name is probably going to be Dan's Rust. So even on make, you can handle this situation because here we only ask for last name, right? So make is very flexible in what you can do. So instead of sending the full name into the last name, I can simply split the name by space, and then I can get only the last word from the full name, and that's going to be my last name, right? So there is a lot of hacks like this, a lot of functions you can use. So we have logical functions, math functions, text string functions, datetime, and even array functions. Obviously, you don't have to use functions all the time, right? And for example, in case of the Facebook lead ads ID, which is the custom field which I have set, I can simply drag and drop the lead ID which I received from Facebook, okay? So we can see that this module, this first module, provided the lead ID. So I'm gonna just map it like this. The next time this scenario runs, it is gonna send this information dynamically to Meta. Obviously, I could map the email, etc., but the logic is always the same, right? You just drag and drop the right things into the right fields, and then you keep adding these modules. Now, I've also mentioned that Make is very flexible in what you can do. So it's not only about this linear automations, but you can also create conditional routes or multiple routes. So you can use our router feature, and then you can create routes within subroutes with different actions being executed conditionally based on the filters, if they are passed or not, etc. So the workflows on Make, they can get very quickly very complex, right? And that is the beauty. You can start very simple, but as your needs evolve, the workflows can grow with you. Okay, so in this scenario, this was very simple. I'm gonna delete what I have added here. I'm gonna realign, and just to recap, we basically capture delete from the form which I set for my testing. Then we sent a quick event to Conversions API saying, hey, we got the lead, and that's pretty much it. And then we went and created the lead record in Salesforce. And of course, in my original module, I have all the important fields mapped. So even the job title and company name, it went to Salesforce. Okay. So this is where we ended up, with the record in Salesforce. You can see even the title and the company name, etc. So far, so good. Now, if you remember the list of steps which I was talking about, I am being asked to zoom in, but I think I'm already at like 125. Let me, guys, quickly zoom in one more. Okay. So let's go to 150%. Okay, better? I hope so. All right, so back to my original thought before zooming in. The third step was to create a standalone pixel, right? So you can capture the lead events from Meta in a separate space in your events manager. So if you go to events manager and you go to data sources, you can create this plus button, and then you can simply create a new pixel which would be of type CRM. I'm not gonna do it because I have already done this before, but this is where you would start. So you just select CRM, you are gonna give it a name, and that's pretty much it. Right. I did already some testing here, so I have quite a few CRM pixels, but I also have this test pixel, which is just for website. Okay, so before you start sending any events back from your CRM to Meta, you gotta do this step where you create a new pixel, and the pixel starts receiving the data, right? So now let's pretend, we are in Salesforce, and now I put my BDR or AE hat, and I'm working on the lead, and the person is probably progressing through these statuses, right? So our sales funnel is pretty short. We don't have that many statuses. So obviously when the lead arrives, it's just open, not contacted. Then we are working on it. So, working contacted. Then maybe if the lead is good, we are going to send out a contract, and we are going to wait for the contract to be signed. So it's just like pending, right? Then the contract is signed, and then eventually lead can become converted, right? So Now, every time, someone flips the stage, we want to take this information and send it to Meta, to the pixel which we just created, okay? So for that, I have created this second scenario. Let me quickly refresh. So hopefully this time we capture that execution in real time, and it is gonna do exactly that. So I'm gonna go back to Salesforce, and I'm gonna switch the status. And now you can see it was captured and sent to Meta. Now I'm gonna go back. Maybe, the lead is super good, so it's progressing very fast. So now again, it was captured and sent to Meta, right? And then finally, let's say the contract is signed. So we capture it, and again, so for one lead, we sent like 3 statuses, right? And eventually it would probably get converted. So it would go there as well. So we would send, event for this one, for this one, for this one, and for this one. And maybe then later on, if the lead is converted from lead to account, you could start, sending more statuses, or even lead to opportunity, etc. There's so many like different things which can happen. Obviously, I'm talking about Salesforce here, but generally speaking, the approaches of the lead, progression in your CRM, they are going to be very similar, no matter which CRM you are using, right? Be it HubSpot, be it Pipedrive, be it Zoho. There will always be some sort of status change event which you want to capture and push it back to Meta together with the Facebook lead ads ID. Now, let's go back to the scenario, and let's now look at what we currently see. And you can see like these webhooks and this XML here, and then get a record, and then this Facebook module to send the actual event. So maybe let's start from the end. So to send the event, the conversions event back to Meta, we are using this app, which is called Facebook Conversions API for CRM. And the event is, the app is super simple. There's only few fields to be met. So for the event name, we are gonna send the statuses, right? The status name, right? So whatever the status which was just entered by the lead is, it's gonna go as the event name. Then the time, it's simply happening now. So we are just gonna use this variable which we provide out of the box. So if we go to this date and time pane, I'm literally gonna drag and drop now here. And then when it comes to user data, we don't provide any emails, any phone numbers, nothing like that. We are literally gonna provide just the lead ID, which we are getting from the Salesforce record. Okay, so if I go here and I look for a lead ID, obviously I don't want the Salesforce lead ID. I want to get the Facebook lead ads ID stored in Salesforce, right? So that would be this variable mapped. Then of course you can set the Salesforce, the lead event source, so you know where it's coming when checking it in Events Manager. And then you can even decide to which pixel you want to send this information if it's not a default pixel with which you have created the connection when setting up this module. Okay, so now let's talk about this a bit. So when it comes to Salesforce, usually when you want to send out like webhook events or real-time events, which are always better for these kinds of workflows, you will probably need to talk to your Salesforce admin. So the thing to tell them is that basically they will need to set up an outbound message for you, which is basically gonna be sending the ID of the lead and the status name, which was just like entered. And then once the message is configured, you will set up a flow which is going to be triggering that message, right? So there is a flow which is called lead stage changes to make webhooks, and it is basically going to capture that change in Salesforce, and it's going to send that message to the webhook, which webhook is just like a URL receiving notifications from Salesforce. Now, why do I keep, saying this about webhooks and all that? Well, for Salesforce, it's not that straightforward, so I want you to know how it's set up. That's reason number one. And the reason number two is why to consider webhooks whenever possible is that, with webhooks or with real-time notifications, you are making sure that every single status change is captured and sent to Meta. Because, if you are a bit more advanced user and you start using Make, you are also going to see these modules like watch records, right? But they are not instant. So what can happen is that, you may have a very simple scenario looking like this, where you will periodically check for status changes in Salesforce, like every hour, every 2 hours, or maybe every day. But what can happen here is that, the lead can change multiple statuses between your checks. And by, checking periodically, you are not making sure that every single status change is captured. So every single time you can use instant modules, or you can use like webhook based modules, go for them, because you will make sure that you are not leaking any important events which are supposed to be sent to Meta. And this can happen with these modules, which are periodically checking, per schedule. If the lead, changes 5 statuses within 5 minutes, you are always going to capture just the last one, but not the two changes before that. So every single time you can go for webhooks, go for it. And basically, webhooks for any other CRM than Salesforce are much easier to set up than this. But because Salesforce is not that straightforward, I'm showing you roughly how to do it. Okay, so now, let's say we have captured 200 leads per month, or at least, 50 per week if we split the month by 4. And, AEs are working on the leads, and there is enough events sent to Meta. So what to do next? So if you remember from my slide, the next step is basically to finalize the lead funnel in your events manager. So this is basically where you need to tell Meta, what statuses are good for you. So in my case, let's check this CRM Pixel v3 if I am allowed to finish my sales funnel. It may not be the case, so let's see. Okay, so in this case, the Pixel is fairly new, and I have not sent enough events to Meta to be allowed to enter this stage. Okay, so I cannot configure the sales funnel, but I believe that this Pixel should allow it, because that's an older one and it has enough in events, right? So in your case, you will locate your new Pixel after a week or so, and then you will go here. You will try to modify your sales funnel. In my case, it was configured, so it says modify, but in your case, you are gonna start fresh, and you are gonna start on this screen, basically. So you need to tell, or on this screen, you are gonna basically see all the event names which you sent from your CRM. So you can see that this is all the values which we saw in Salesforce, right? So look carefully, not contacted, contacted, pending contract, contract signed. This is exactly what we are seeing here, right? So Meta is gonna present that to you. And what you are supposed to do here is you are supposed to reorder the statuses to the order which the leads are following when passing through your CRM, okay? So this is what you do on this screen, and you are also deciding which stages are positive and which are basically other or negative. Now, on the next screen, this is where the important stuff happens, right? This is where you tell Meta, hey Meta, like this status is good for me, and this status is good for me as well. And then Meta algorithms will try to go and find, audiences or people which are more likely to reach the selected statuses within your sales funnel, right? So I'm not really caring about leads which just, end on the open, not contacted, or which end on working contacted status, because these are not good for me. For my business, pending contract, that already means it's a solid lead, right? And everything after is also a good lead for me. So I want Meta to optimize for these statuses, right? So once I make my choices here, I'm just gonna finish the funnel. And now, the cherry on top, which you should not forget, is to actually go to your campaign and switch the campaign optimization or the ad set optimization method to conversion leads. So let me quickly show you how you can do this. So I'm just gonna open a random campaign. And I'm gonna go to this campaign. And then I'm gonna open my ad set. You can see the ad set is running instant forms. And here there is this performance growth section. So traditionally, you are probably aiming for this, but once your sales funnel is finished, you can start using this option to maximize the number of conversion leads, right? And you can either do this in your existing campaigns or maybe in your future campaigns, but the assumption is that the sales funnel is completed and Meta knows what good means for you, right? And from this moment on, you are, instead of going for quantity, you are going to be optimizing for quality. Okay, so this is the cherry on top. Obviously, this is the most important step, right? Like if you do all the 7 steps before and you forget to do this, then the effort was not worth it. So don't forget to actually switch the ad sets to this type of optimization. So going back to my deck, let me quickly summarize the important things. Obviously, let me repeat, you need to store the lead IDs whenever the lead arrive at the very beginning, right? So whenever people submit the forms, make sure you use make to store the lead ID and create those records in your CRM or in your database with that lead ID. Without the lead ID, you cannot send the events later. Then don't forget to create the new pixel for the CRM events so you can keep it separate. I haven't showed that to you, but even if I now go back to the events manager, I will be able to see the events which are being received by the pixel. So if I go to my V3 pixel, I'm gonna see the history of the events. So let's wait for this to load. Let's go to data sources, V3. And here, I can observe what events I'm getting, right? So you can see that yesterday I was practicing the webinar, so there were some events arriving. And again, the labels exactly mirror what is coming from the CRM, in my case, from Salesforce. Then third step or third point here, make sure that you capture all status changes of each lead within the Facebook lead ID, meaning that if you can use webhook-based triggers, go for them. Don't use periodic checks because you may lose some of the changes. And finally, I said that don't forget to change the optimization to conversion leads on the ad set level. And that is pretty much it from me. So I do realize, guys, it's not straightforward, right? Like the whole process, there's a lot of steps, etc. The scenarios in Make or the automations, they're actually not that complicated. It's pretty straightforward, no conditional logic, nothing like that. But what is important here is basically, to follow all these steps in this order. And once you do that, you should be good to go. And with this being said, we can open it up for questions.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for that insightful demo. And thank you very much, Heriberto, for detailed walkthrough of Meta Conversions API for CRM. I'm sure our attendees are inspired and equipped with new ideas to take their ad performance to the next level. So prior to the Q&A session, I'd like to share an exclusive promo offer with you. So if you will scan the QR code you are seeing on the right, you will get, if you're new users, of course, or you can create a new account of Make, you will receive a pro plan of Make for 2 months with 20,000 operations per month, absolutely for free, no credit cards or no agreement needed. And of course, it's end of the year, a lot of interesting holidays approaching. We are getting festive, so that's not it. You will additionally receive an opportunity to schedule one-on-one session with our solution architect, Daniel. And you will receive a link in your inboxes tomorrow. So please track it and keep eye on it. And actually, it's supposed to be like no pressure, a friendly conversation, a meeting with Daniel designed to help you to start with Make or to help you to optimize already existing workflows and setups. No one for Daniel. He's excited. New makers to bring to life, new workflows with meta technologies. That's super exciting. So actually, now it's your turn, dear attendees. We're opening up the floor for your questions. I'm seeing empty Q&A with one answered question. Can we use similar scenarios with Google Ads? Daniel, if you would like to add more insights to what we
Obviously.
used.
Yeah, we have Google Ads, we have LinkedIn, we have all the platforms available. The business logic may be a little different, but simple answer is yes. Yes, you can.
Beautiful. We have also a question if we will be sending the recording. Of course, you will receive it together with a special promo tomorrow. So monitor your inboxes. Any more questions from our audience? Do not hesitate. It's an amazing chance to check with Daniel and Roberto on anything you're interested about. Actually, we also came prepared We monitored and scanned for more frequently asked questions around Converse API usage on Make. We check our community, our support tickets. So I collected some interesting questions that we could address at today's webinar. One of them is, should I worry about the client's data being safe with the Convergence API for CRM connection? Heriberto, Daniel, do you have something to add to this question?
Yeah, I can add it from a privacy perspective on Meta's side. Essentially, we don't share your data or data sent via Conversions API with any third parties, including other advertisers, unless we are required to do so by law or that you, the business, advises us or permits us to do so. We also utilize the data for that particular use case. And in this case, it is for lead generating campaigns. We don't sort of take or understand your CRM data flow and or events and use it for another part of our sort of ads business or another ad product. It is specifically used for that case. And this is part of just the massive privacy guardrails we have across all of our advertising products, specifically any that involves businesses sending back first party data for performance enhancements.
Yeah, on on Make side, like it comes down to who has access to your Make account, right? If it's just you, we are gonna keep logs for either 30 or 60 days within the account. If you decide that you want to make all the logs confidential so nobody can see what's passing through, it's also possible. So here it really depends on the setup which you are running. If you are like super concerned about the data, just don't give access to people to your Make account. Switch Facebook or Meta scenarios to confidential mode, and no one will ever be able to retrieve anything about what ran through the scenarios, including our support. Like it's literally gonna be 100% blind and nobody knows. So that's a very privacy-oriented option which you have with Make as well.
That's amazing, Daniel. Alberto, thank you. Another question, maybe you already covered this, but how does Facebook Meta know that the client has changed status? For example, contact pending, the contact signed, I might have missed this.
So to capture those events, I had this, second scenario. So first we had to, capture the leads from Facebook, and then second scenario was about capturing all these status changes through this scenario. So every time, I click this, it's gonna go to Make and it's gonna be captured by these modules. Again, in case of Salesforce, it's not that nice, but we are gonna basically capture, what or which lead has changed and what was its ID. And we are gonna know, right, that this particular lead ID, right, remember just A4 at the end, A4 at the end, went to this status, right? And then to retrieve all the information about the lead, like name and, job title, if I want to work with it, I'm just running this module where I'm getting, the record, the lead record from Salesforce based on the lead ID. And once I retrieve that, I am simply mapping, the things which you need to map for the event to be sent to Meta. So again, it's the status from Salesforce. So, contract signed, not contacted, whatever. The event time, so when did it happen? And then the lead ID from Facebook lead ads, which we stored originally when this lead was basically ingested through this scenario, right? So that is how Meta knows that, Dan here went from this to here and to here and to here, right? It's the second scenario, which is actively pushing back the information to Meta. So basically you are creating this loop of data flows, right? From Meta to you and then from you to Meta. And the loop is closed and then Meta knows.
Great, thank you, Daniel. Another question, are there any resources how the flow from a custom form, for example, from a website and the connection to the conversion API would like? For example, WordPress form to conversion
Yeah.
APIs or Make.
Look, this depends on what kind of form you are running, but generally speaking, I'm not sure if you are like the developer of the form or if you can talk to the developer of the form. You will probably give them webhook URL to which they post the form submission, right? So again, you are gonna get something like first name, last name, etc., you are going to capture that. But it's not going to work for the webinar use case, because what are you missing if it's going to be from your website? You are not going to have the Facebook lead ads ID, right? That is very important to know. As Heriberto said earlier, this is what we talked about today. It's only going to work when the lead comes from the instant forms on Meta, right? It needs to be shown in the feed to people, because that's where Meta knows what the lead ID is. If the lead just randomly arrives to your website, you are not going to have the lead ID, right? So technically, yes, it is possible to just capture the leads and maybe just send some generic events about, lead capture to Conversions API. But to do this trick with Conversions API for CRM, you will not be able to do it when running your website form.
Great, thank you. Another question. Is there an option to run and make automation to post content on Instagram with only an Instagram creator account?
Actually, I don't know. I would have to look it up. I know we can create content on Instagram, but I'm not sure if it this creator accounts, to be honest. I don't know.
We'll check it and follow up on this question, definitely.
Yeah.
We have another question. I'm not sure if I understand this one, but maybe Daniel will get it. What is something about you and your journey with Make that you wish more people knew about?
That's a sneaky
That's
question.
unexpected.
Honestly, I would say, it's not that hard as it may look at first sight, right? Like sometimes we get people maybe coming to webinars or to events and they see the solutions and they're like, oh, it's so hard. But no, like guys, you gotta try it, spend like 30 minutes with it, maybe even go through our academy, take one course, spend like 2 hours on it, and you will see that it is actually feasible and doable by non-programmers. I'm not programmer. I did not study programming, okay? And can be solution architect here, no problem. So that's what I wish our website visitors know when they are seeing Make and checking out, and considering whether to go for it or not.
That's very nice advice. Thank you for sharing, Daniel. And maybe the final question to wrap it up, or of course, drop more questions. If we would not address them live, we will send you a follow-up answer via email. The last question, how do you optimize for lead quality and not for quantity alone on the form level? Do you have any insights, Heriberto or Daniel?
Yeah, so that's what we are showing, right? Like once you set up this two-way loop of getting the leads to your CRM and then pushing those events back and capturing enough events, like for enough leads. So you should average like 200 per month. You'll be able to set up the sales funnel. And then once you finalize the funnel, you just switch to conversion leads and, that's it. Like that's really it.
Yeah, to add
That's
to that,
great.
right now, without a Conversions API integration, you can run a lead generating campaign and optimize for volume. You can do that today. When you which will include potentially good leads, bad leads, leads that make it halfway. With the connection, as Daniel mentioned, you close the loop and sending that data back, you can optimize for quality or conversion lead optimization performance goal. And that will reach higher intent targets.
Very insightful. So I see a couple of more questions, but we will address them via email. So check your inboxes tomorrow. So thank you very much. It was a fantastic session today. Big thank you to our speakers, Heriberto and Daniel, for sharing their experience, and to all of you, to all our attendees for engaging and asking such great questions. And of course, don't forget to check your inbox for webinar recording, exclusive promo offer, and session link to schedule session with Daniel. And of course, guys, take care and unleash the power of automation with Meta and Make. Thank you very much and have a beautiful rest of the day.
Bye,
Bye.
guys, and good luck.